Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for attending this conference, which is dedicated to the French vision of a smart city. We will have 1 hour, and before we start, I will first introduce our 4 speakers. Carlos Moreno, who is à la chaire de la Sorbonne. Klaus Hapfast, who is an elected representative at the Grenoble Metropolis. Constance Nabula, who is also elected representative of the city of Angers. And Patrice Vergrit, who is the mayor of the city of Dunkirk and who is also the president of the urban community of Dunkirk. So, we choose to entitle this conference Cities, Digital Technology and Social Innovation, French Experiences, which is the title of the last publication we have just released for Barcelona, which is here. You have both in French and in English, and if you want some, I will keep some to give to you. Before starting and introducing the context, just a few words about France Urbaine to make you understand the context of this publication. France Urbaine is the main national network that gathers French large cities. By French large cities, we mean cities from 100,000 inhabitants. It has 104 members of all political tendencies, which is important for us. We work on all subjects that have an impact on public policies on cities. Digital issues are very important in the daily work of France Urbaine, and we have a working group dedicated to these issues. We decided to prepare this publication to try to question the end of and the impact of digital technologies on cities, trying to answer several questions. What is the ultimate purpose of digital tools as applied to cities? In what ways can digital tools facilitate social innovation? And the question also that we are asking is to know whether there is a French vision or a European vision of the smart city. 16 territories, 16 French large cities accepted to join this project, and by describing their strategies in digital issues, and then by highlighting 2 projects per cities, 2 concrete projects to show how digital tools can contribute to better living in cities. And this is the question I will ask to our 3 speakers from cities to tell us a bit more about their policies. But before starting, I will ask Carlos Moreno. Thank you for attending this conference, and thank you also for your contribution to this publication, which is very interesting. And in this contribution, you have written a lot about the concept of smart cities. So before we go further in the subject with concrete experiences in cities, I think it's important maybe that you start by giving us the definition, or tell us more about the concept of smart cities to understand better what it covers, its origins, its evolutions, and if you have more time, maybe to tell us if, according to you, we can speak about a French vision of the smart city or European one, and if there's a French one, what would be the characteristics of it? Thank you. You have 10 minutes.
Buenas tardes a todos. Bonjour, bon après-midi, et good evening for all. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for your invitation. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being. My mission is to introduce the subject of smart cities, and in particular, if exists or not, the French vision about smart cities. The first question is, in fact, what is the smart city concept in the world? And today, in Barcelona, what is today the real existence or not of smart city? This is the 9th time of this important event, Smart City World Expo Congress. I remembered me for the first time when I went to Barcelona for starting this event. At this moment, 9 years ago, the vision of Smart City was in particular a vision promoted by the measures of technological solutions. This vision was the first vision about smart cities focused on the technological solutions, in particular by internet solutions, the ubiquitous solutions with a smartphone, and after by the Internet of Things, the IoT. But at this moment, I discussed with Pilar Conesa, one of the pillars of this event, and I said to her, it's not possible in my mind to solve the real complex problem in cities only with technological solutions. In fact, 9 years after, we could observe that the vision of smart cities has radically changed. In fact, cities are today the places where the majority of population live today. 54% in the world, 77% in Europe, 78% in France are the urban population. And what are the real main problems for people in cities? It's not the technological questions every day. The real problem in my mind is the convergence of three challenges. The first one today is the ecological challenge, the environmental change. The climate change today, this is the reality. The climate change today, it exists. The climate change, of course, with the sixth extinction of biodiversity. This is the real problem for the humanity today. The ecological challenge is the first challenge today for all kinds of cities. The megalopolises in China, the metropolises in Europe, and even the small town in the rurality in the world. The second point is the social inclusion, because cities are very complex, and in fact, we have been assisting to a real increase of social exclusion in citizens. The poverty, this is a real problem today in cities, in metropolises, and in megalopolises. The social inclusion today is totally visible in all kinds of cities because this is one of the sources of racism, of populism, of demagogical ideas. The social inclusion is the possibility in order to propose a city for all. This is the concept of les droits à la ville. This is Lefebvre. Today, the right of cities. What is the possibility to live in cities? The third point, in fact, is the economical challenge. The economical challenge is the possibility to contribute to create value in cities. The economy today is a very complex situation as well because we have been living a turning point of the traditional industrialization for the transforming in a service economy. And today, the economical actions, including in cities, how can we transform the economic model based today in the services for the creating value. In my mind, the real smart city is not a way based on technological solutions. The real smart city is based on the capability to offer to human, to inhabitants, to citizen dwellers, the possibility to offer the convergence based on the three key elements: to fight climate change and to preserve biodiversity, to develop the social inclusion, and to develop the economical activities in order to share the city. If we want to consider the first point based on ecological actions, our real challenge for the next decades is to develop a low-carbon city. A low-carbon city is today compulsory if we wanted to reduce of at least 45% the CO2 emissions, if we wanted to obtain at the horizon 2050 the carbon neutrality. The carbon neutrality at the horizon 2050 is the absolute condition if we wanted to survive the human civilizations at the end of this century. Each one of the actions in each one of cities today needs to preserve, to reduce the CO2 emissions and to preserve biodiversity. The social inclusion involve to develop a new model for the shading cities. And the economic actions is the possibility to offer an employment to the revenues, to incoming for all. And I said that if you wanted to invest €1, $1 for a smart city, we need to invest for €1 in environmental actions, in the social inclusion actions, and the economical action. The technology today, this is a very relevant point because it's the first time in the history of humanity who we have the possibility to have the constantly hyperconnectivity. We are totally hyperconnected with many devices, your Mac, your smartphone, your tablet. What were challenges with technology? The challenge of technology is very, very simple. It's only to have technology in order to support the convergence of economical, social, and environmental actions. If we could to develop technological solutions, algorithms, so we could support all kinds of human activities in cities, the technology, this is our better ally. At the opposite, if the massive utilization of the technology, if the massive hyperconnectivity will become one of point for isolating people, if the massive utilization of the individual technologies, of the individual algorithms, will become the new generations of zombie geek. What is a zombie geek? This is the people hyper-connected because they geek, but at the same time, the social zombie. For the first time in the history of humanity, we could be at the same time a geek, but at the same time, we could become a zombie. This is today the challenge for people who want to develop the concept of human smart city. The human smart city, this is my concept, this is my fight, this is my involvement for 10 years in order to use the technology for develop a new kind of smart city based on the development of social link, the relationship between humans, the development of the hyper proximity real relations to discover the resources in the proximity and to offer to the local governance the possibility to develop the human activities in cities. I think that the book of France Urbaine will present today this 13 example for uses of the digital technologies for improving the only significant point for cities, improving the quality of life of inhabitants. And each one of examples in France show us, in fact, that it is totally possible to use the technology, the disruptions, in order to improve the quality of life of each one of inhabitants in cities. The most important point for finishing is the very significant role of the local governance. Each one of the cities in this panel are presenting the real solutions in the real life with the concrete applications, but it is really possible to transform the concept of technological smart city for a human smart city, inclusive, ecological, and economic and sustainable human city. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carlos Moreno. Thank you also for reminding us the concept of a human smart city. You have shown that digital tools can definitely help addressing the different challenges regarding ecological transition, social innovation, economic development. And at the end, it shows that we need to pursue our reflection regarding the sense we want to give to these digital tools. And this is exactly the question I will ask now to our three speakers. It would be interesting to know a bit more about the way you conceive digital technologies and how does it contribute concretely in your territory to improve a better living in cities. Klaus Hapfast from Grenoble-Alpes Métropole, thank you for being here. So you have 10 minutes, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Kader. It's very difficult to take the floor after Carlos, after this speech. I will try to describe rapidly in one area where we try to use technology in the way he said, in the French way, to improve life of citizens. Is the area of mobility. Mobility, of course, in a big city, it's about traffic congestion. Traffic congestion is costing a lot of money. That's where the economy comes in. Mobility is about reducing air pollution, very important in Grenoble. This is where the ecology comes in. And traffic is also about cost of transport. And in France, we are very sensitive to the price of mobility. And that's where the social dimension comes in. Everybody should be able to be mobile. So new technology, of course, means in the area of transport, we need mass, mobility as a service. Is there a French mass? Maybe. In any case, mass will mean, and that's something which is not yet French, that the private car will be the history at one moment in time. The mayor of Amsterdam tells his citizens by 2030 there will be no privately owned car in the city anymore. And he dares to tell them, in France we are not yet there, that we can tell our citizens that you will not be able with a privately owned car to drive into the city in 11 years from now. But this is what mass is about. It's about multimodal and low carbon mobility, low carbon including walking and cycling, multimodal but also multi-operator and shared. Not one road, one car, but it's about many different means of transport and they are all shared. None of them is your exclusivity. And when that comes to the French way, it's publicly managed. Whereas one mass in a city and it's publicly run and publicly managed by an authority organizing the mobility. So, what does it mean for the citizen? Today, he takes the car, he puts the key in the car, and he starts the car, he goes from A to B. Tomorrow, with mass, he will see on his smartphone, on the computer, or on another suitable terminal for people who don't have a smartphone, different options to go from A to B, and he will then be able to choose one and to pay a reasonable price for going from A to B using carpooling, trams, trains, bikes, and so forth. And this is exactly what we will put into place in Grenoble as the very first city in France, starting in January. We will roll out in the middle of 2020 a mobility pass that covers trains, tram and bus, bike rental, micromobility, carpooling, public car parks, all parking, and much more. And for all new transport operators, there will be a requirement to join our mobility pass in order to be licensed to operate mobility on the territory of our city. And that's actually much more than the city. It's the city, two neighboring EPCI, as they are called, two neighboring groupments of municipalities, plus the department and the region. And together we will put this into place, the mobility pass, and within 2 or 3 years we will roll out mobility as a service in a way not seen in France before and under complete public management. Now, the question, of course, of the price, and I turn to the mayor of Dunkerque, who is introducing free public transport in his city. And you could ask the question, shouldn't we in Grenoble also have free public transport? And actually, we would like to. But we have studied it, and at this moment in time, in Grenoble, with 450,000 inhabitants, we clock 250,000 daily trips on our public transport network. That's 4 times more per inhabitant than in Dunkerque. And our trams and buses are full, brimful full at peak times. So if we make it free, we would have to buy more trams, more buses, train more bus drivers, and that costs a lot of money, about 30% more than today. At the same time, we would only reduce the traffic congestion at peak times by about 1% of the car use, the modal use by car. So, yes, we are looking at making public transport in our context free of charge for certain target groups, although we admire the courage of Dunkerque. To make it free of charge for everybody, and we might make it free of charge, for example, at weekends, when we don't have to increase capacity, because at weekends everything is good to bring people from using their car into using different modes of transport. So this is what I wanted to tell about what our way is to give a better life to citizens in the area of mobility. As I said, less traffic congestion, less time lost on the road, and also less carbon footprint, less air pollution, and of course, ideally also a reduced cost of transport. And that will mean that the way our public transport network will look like with Mars is going to change considerably over the next couple of years, just because you will get used to the notion that in France, public transport is not only a very powerful and dense network of trams and buses, it will also be a very dense and powerful network of carpooling and bicycles and trains and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this presentation, Klaus Hapfast. Definitely the field of mobility and transport is one of those where digital tools can have a huge impact and change things. Now we would like to hear a bit more about the policy of Dunkerque. Thank you, Patrice Vergrit, for attending this conference too. Could you please tell us a bit more about the projects you choose to highlight in the publication, and especially a very interesting project concerning libraries, a project called Balise.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Patrice Vergrit. I'm the mayor of Dunkerque and the president of the district, in fact. In Dunkerque, we have developed several digital innovations. In fact, I just want to present 2 examples. The first one is related to our network of libraries, as you said, a network of libraries through all the district. In fact, it's an inter-municipality network of libraries. Thanks to digital tools, we have harmonized library access conditions And the unique card enables users to borrow a document from one library and return it to another library within the network. In 2017, we have invested in digital infrastructure, including automated loan systems. We have also reinforced the online services. For example, today user can watch 8 films per month, choose from a broad range of training options, and read numerous press publications, all free of charge. Thanks to these new services, thanks to digital tools, the number of readers increased by 43% in 3 years. A second example of digital innovation implemented in Dunkirk is related to the development to the remembrance and the development of remembrance tourism. As you know, Dunkirk was completely wiped out during World War II. In fact, during Operation Dynamo in 1940. And particularly after the release of Christopher Nolan's film called Dunkirk, as you know, we decided to launch a vast heritage site enhancement program. Going beyond the physical museum, we launched a call for projects concerning an open-air museum concept. The idea was to provide historical mediation surrounding relics still present, monuments, blockhouses, wrecks, and to recreate the past precisely where the traces disappeared. The result is the development of Operation Dynamo, an application that offers scripted historical tours in Dunkirk. The 2 tours currently available offer immersive experiences, virtual reenactments of scenes, augmented reality of landscapes, sound narration, etc. These 2 experiences show how digital tools can help territories to develop remembrance, but also the local economy. It shows also how it can help people to have access to culture and to make more inclusive city. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you for showing indeed that digital tools can have an impact on various fields: culture, tourism, economic development. And now we're gonna hear to Constance Nebula. Constance Nebula, who is elected representative of the city of Angers. Thank you for being here, and also thank you for your contribution in the publication. Could you please tell us more about the story of the city of Angers, the way you conceive also digital strategy, and maybe 1 or 2 projects you have been implementing in your city? You have a bit more than 10 minutes if you want.
Thank you very much. Bonjour à tous. Hola. Good afternoon. Do you know this? El País. I think this is the most important newspaper in Spain. And if you have good eyes, you can see just here in the first page. I keep it with me. Angers, ejemplo de la Franza que va bien. Angers, the French city example of everything is okay. If you want to read the article after, I can give you the newspaper, but give me back to me after. So to resume the article, the journalists say you don't need to be a big metropolis to do great things. and use it as a model for the other cities in Europe. Could be an example for the other city with the same size. So to respond to the question about the quality of life, the digital, and about Angers, let's focus with a little bit of history before to go to our subject. It's the 70th biggest city in France, around 155,000 people. The urban area called Angers-Loire Métropole is about 300,000 people. It's a city with a lot of history and patrimony. As you know, of course, I suppose, capital of Anjou, entrance of Loire Valley, with castles, with good wines. You are welcome if you want. Angers, like the charts and the newspapers say, is the greenest city in France, and already the first one for quality of life. So we have that point, but the goal is to keep it, and technology and innovation can help. Since more than 50 years, it's a territory of innovation and electronics industry. This culture and expertise became the foundation to develop a smart territory. It's possible because there is an ecosystem now and since many years in Angers ready to participate and create a digital environment. In 2015, we opened a place unique in Europe, a factory dedicated to IoT projects, the Internet of Things. A place to support, to help, and make IoT business and projects. It was logical because electronic, our history, and IoT are connected, so we decided to take the opportunity of being the place to be and to do IoT projects. So the next step was finally using the IoT object, the IoT project. So we started to do experimentations like many other cities in France and in Europe, and for real in the city. So also called like living lab, but everybody uses this word, so I don't use it anymore. We tried technologies in different situations of public services, building management, parking, traffic, energy, waste, and we created a good context for innovation, but the different tests were with a small scale, so it was interesting to go up, and after experimentation you want to see things bigger. So after this experimentation during few years with the mayor Christophe Béchu, we decided to have a bigger project. It's called Angers Smart Territory. It was launched in 2018 and it has 3 objectives. The number 1 is environmental objective. It's save the resources and accelerated the ecological transition. This is, I think, the words I heard more since I'm here in Barcelona. When you speak about smart city, you have to speak about ecological problems and environment. So this is our first objective on the project. The second one is improve and offer new services for residents with more efficiency in the public action. And the third one is optimize public services management and cost, of course, and by modernizing methods. It's a long-term vision. So we know we need times. So I think this is a good moment to do it. But our choice is to be ready for the future challenge waiting all the urban area in France or in Europe, environmental emergency, demographic movements, and of course financial situations. It means we have to do more for more people, but with less money and less ecological print. So after 1 year of work, last week Angers-Loire Métropole chose the groupement winner of this public market for the next 12 years. And it's a consortium led by ENGIE. As you know, of course, ENGIE. I hope this project will change our global system inside the city, inside our way to work and to deliver the public services. And the director, just for information, the director of NG INEO said this week on the press, the smart city project in Angers is unique because of the scales and the different blocks inside the project. So with this concept, this is a unique and the first time in France there is a project like this. But to do this sort of ambition, you have to work with the population. You need the contribution of the population. That's why Angers used since 2 years a participative platform created in open source by the city of Barcelona for information. And this too is a good example of a civic tech using because people can contribute on the platform, on the project, they can have ideas, they can comment, they can share ideas and projects about their city. For example, on this platform, the population can vote on a participative budget. It means 1 million euros for ideas and projects for Angers. And this year, we just finished the budget for this year. It was around 10,000 votes. It means Angers, with this participative budget, is the most important one if you compare the size of the city and the votes. So we are very proud of it because it means with the technology you encourage and contribute to the citizen action and be part of it of the city. So the smart city concept for Angers is about an innovating technical base and an inclusive digital. So I will finish like this and say technologies and innovations can help people living together. We have different proofs here. But my advice is, and I will finish on it, maybe it will create some debate, it has to be a political choice.
Thank you very much, Constance Nebula. And thank you for highlighting also the importance of digital tools and the impact of it on citizens' engagement. It's very important too. We have 15 minutes left, and maybe some of you have questions that we can address in English. 6 minutes. So either if you have questions in English, French, or Spanish. If someone does, yes?
Hello. Hi. I just had a quick question in English. For Angers, to know the name of the platform that you're using for the voting and the governance. So that would be my first question. And for the governance, is there any other examples as part of your innovation projects in the other cities in Grenoble and Dunkirk? I don't know if you have other examples about governance. Was that? Je peux le demander en français aussi.
Je suis désolée, on entend très mal. C'est à propos de la gouvernance.
La gouvernance, pour savoir le nom de la plateforme
oui.
que vous avez mentionné, qui est développée à Barcelone,
oui.
Et pour savoir s'il y avait d'autres exemples d'initiatives de gouvernance à Dunkerque et Grenoble. Voilà.
I will respond in English for everybody. So the name is Decidim. It was created in Barcelona. I think there are other cities in France and in Europe using it. So first it was used here in Barcelona. They use it to propose to citizens to share their ideas. And it was in open source. So we worked with them. They have a team in France, so it's very easy to speak with them. So the name is Decidim. And
We do have participatory projects as well, and also participation budget. Congratulations for the 10,000 voters. We are very hesitant in Grenoble to do an electronic dialogue with citizens because we have many poor quarters. And at this moment in time, we believe in order to increase participation at this moment, we do it by classical means. So, for example, we had you could vote by in a polling in 6 or 7 places with a physical poll for your project, and in parallel you could vote electronically. It's just that we try to be as inclusive as possible.
Just one thing about the governance. The platform is only on the city of Angers, but the smart city project is for the area Angers-Loire Métropole. So it's because there are different subjects, and yeah, we can discuss about it, but there are 2 scales. En français, la ville et la communauté urbaine, et c'est 2 choses différentes, et donc c'est séparé.
Thank you. Merci. Hop, hop, hop. We have 3 minutes left. I will ask Carlos Moreno a last word of conclusion. Next year is going to be the 10th edition of Barcelona exhibition. And is there a message, according to you, that we should prepare?
Yeah, thank you. I think that for the next decade, we have 3 significant point for all, for the local governance and for citizens. The first point, of course, is a real involvement in order to fight against climate change and to preserve biodiversity, because this is the capabilities for the mankind to survive at the end of this century. It's absolutely necessary to develop the radical actions in order to preserve climate change. This is in a crisscross approach absolutely today, indispensable if we want to offer the new services, for example, mobility, if we want to develop the ecological actions, all kinds of actions to reduce CO2. The second point, I think that I am observing for the last 3 years a new trend based on the conception of the urbanism, of the local urbanism. Because until now, the urbanism is based on the separation between territory and time for people. Citizens haven't enough time for live, because the essential of people live at home and spend at least 2 hours in a round trip to go to work and to return. I think that the second point for the next decade is the chrono-urbanism. How can we join the available time and available space? We need to develop the new convergence between space and time. For the scientific people, we call this the chronotopia. Chronos, how can we use the time? Topos, how can we use the space? But in the 21st century, the topos has 2 ways: the physical topos, the physical space, and the digital topos, the digital space. And we need today to develop the real convergence between the digital space, the real space, and the time available. I think that the chrono-urbanism, this is a real new way. The third point, I'm really sorry, but I believe, I'm convinced that it doesn't exist a model for smart city. It doesn't exist a model for human smart city. The human smart city, this is a long journey. This is a real travel of the time. And we need to identify the good inspiration sources. And we need to avoid the bad inspiration. But this is the only point today, this is the only common point for diverse experiences around the world. It's not correct, it's not way to want to identify a model, including for French cities. We have the possibility to develop creativity, to develop the imaginations, and to federate the stakeholders, the actors, the local governance, to develop a real participative democracy and to develop the new actions based on the good source of inspirations. And this book, do you have 13 very, very good source of inspirations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to our 4 speakers for attending. Thank you to you too. And if you want to know more about Carlos Moreno's reflection and about cities experiences, I still have some more publication and I will leave some in the French pavilion. Thank you everybody. Thank you.